she's listening. The number of people who said, Jane, I want to thank you. You've taught me because you did it. I can do it too.
I'm curious if you saw, because it's incredible the way you're speaking about your mom and how impactful she was in giving you this confidence to go forward with your dream. Did you see your mom living her life the way that she encouraged you to do it? Because I feel like sometimes with generations, it's like they didn't get to do certain things. So then they're like with their kids, they're like, go and do it all. I wish I could have. Like, was your mom someone that got to live out her dreams?
Well, unfortunately, she had two sisters and a brother. She was the third. So the brother went on to be a surgeon, a brilliant surgeon. And her older sister was the first person to be qualified, first girl to be qualified as a physiotherapist. And Mum was also going to college to do music. But the war came, and her father died. And sorry, not the war, it was her father dying. And then there was no money left, so she couldn't go to college. So she became a secretary. So she had a good life, but not the life that she probably would have dreamed of. So I was lucky. My dream came true.
Yeah, and I'm sure there was something, I mean, I'm not a mother, but from what I can understand and talking to so many women who have children, like there is something innately in you that you want your child to have a better life than you, have even more experiences and more opportunities. And it's just, I think it's beautiful to hear the way that you speak about your mother and how much she was willing to sacrifice in her life to make sure that you got what you needed.
Parents need to be supportive. Okay, so you're a little boy of 3. I'm going to be an engine driver. Oh, don't be silly. You're not going to. Why not say, wow, you'll be a fabulous engine driver. The best engine driver, because they won't be an engine driver. But make them feel good.
But I bet that's what your mom in her brain was like, oh, there's no way Jane's actually going to go to Africa. There's no way and then you did it all. How often do you think in your career were you prejudged for being a woman and the way that you looked, and then slowly you were able to garner the respect because of the work you were putting in?
Well, I think I was kind of lucky because it wasn't a male-dominated field, because nobody really was going out at that time. Now, of course, everybody is studying animals. Back then, there were 2 primate studies and a giraffe study. Most studies were in captivity. And so everybody, it wasn't like it is today.
Yeah.
And I was really lucky. I had the whole field. I mean, nobody had studied chimps in the wild.
But studying chimps in the wild, like, I need to understand from your perspective, you weren't going into a lab. You're going into the wilderness. You're going to be surrounded by animals. At the time, you had no formal training. Like, were you scared at all, or did you have any hesitations?
No, I wasn't scared. It was my dream, remember. And there were 2 problems. First, money. Always money. Because, I mean, as you say, I wasn't trained, hadn't been to college, but finally got money for 6 months from an American philanthropist. And second, it was Tanganyika back then, it's Tanzania today. And the British authorities said, we won't take responsibilities. This is a stupid idea. Young girl going in the forest. In the end, they said, oh, all right, but she can't come alone. That was when my amazing mother volunteered to come.
That's incredible.
Yes, and we, our expedition was a shoestring. We had one old second-hand tent between us. We had to take a cook, and we had scant supplies, but I was, up in the hills every day.
You were 26 years old. Like, that is so incredible to know that you basically took a pretty untraditional trajectory with your life, and you took a risk and you went for something that you were passionate about. Could you give any of my listeners But we have a lot of young women listening who maybe they're thinking right now of like, should I take a risk, whether it's with their career or their life trajectory, whatever it be? Like, do you have any advice in taking risks as a young adult?
Well, I can only think of the advice my mother gave me. If you want to do something, work hard and take advantage of opportunity. The key thing is you've got to know you really want to do it. So today, people take gap years, and that's really good because you can find out, is this really what I want to spend my life doing? And also I meet young people and they're perhaps in their second year at university, and they say, well, I actually made a mistake, but I can't change now. Well, that's the biggest mistake, because if this is going to be the rest of your life, change now while you can into a different, different career path.
It's such a great lesson because I feel like there's two types of people growing up. Either there's the person similar to yourself where you have this unwavering, undying love for something that you just know innately in your soul. Like, I have been called to do this. I want to do this. And then there are people who are a little lost or confused. And that is also a very normal path. And they have to find what they love and they have to find what they're passionate about. And I think a lot of times people in that category find themselves just trying to do things that other people are doing around them because, oh, well, my friend's doing this. Maybe I will do it. And it's hard to just originally find what makes you happy. So I love that advice of like, if you genuinely to your core know that this isn't what you want, well, first you need to just try it to know you don't want it and to go for it first. And then if you hate it.
Yep. And, there's another thing that some women really want to be homemakers, and yet it's getting so that they're despised. You want to stay at home and you want to cook and you want to look after your children instead of being out there having a career and, standing up shoulder to shoulder with your male counterparts. Well, that's wrong too, because if that makes you really happy, then but your children will be happy. Your husband, if you have one, or your boyfriend or whoever, probably will be happy.
Yeah.
And happiness is so important. It's the king of Bhutan who made this happiness index. And it's fascinating to see, that getting more and more money and more fame and more, doesn't necessarily make people happy.
I think that's a very important topic that you just brought up that I think would be very helpful for people listening also, about feeling like, being a stay-at-home mom in a beautiful way. I think there's a lot of women who are now trailblazing in specific industries, and that's obviously such an incredible accomplishment that women are even allowed to sit next to men in rooms now. But I also think that there is no doubt that being a mother is a full-time job, and to not acknowledge the women who are fulfilled by that is also putting women down in a different capacity.
It is in a different way.
Yeah.
And if we go back to the child, if the most important thing for the child is to be supported by 2, 3, 4 people who are consistently there, it doesn't have to be the biological mother. So I met the chief of a Latin American indigenous tribe. And he said to me, Jane, we see our tribe as like an eagle. One wing is male, the other wing is female, and only when they're equal will the tribe fly high.
Jane, I just want to pause. I'm like, I wish everyone could hear that. That's incredible. And yet so many people don't believe that.
No, they don't. And, the thing is, there are female characteristics and male characteristics. Mm-hmm. We all have both.
Yep.
But basically, we need both. We need the sort of more dominating male characteristics to stand up to things in life that might knock us down.
Yeah.
But we need the more nurturing role of the woman. We need both.
We do. And I feel like especially in the like social and political climate right now, the brute is being rewarded, and people think that being tough and masculine and aggressive is the way to always go. And we always see the pendulum swing. Like once we've had enough of that, then we will go back to the nurturing. And if we were able to establish a more like coexisting life, then both things could be present at the same time. But I feel like we're going so far to one side that then we almost feel like we have to overcorrect and go to the other, and it's exhausting.
But you know, it's so sad. I've lived long enough to see this pendulum swing moving towards, oh, we need more males. We need, oh, in this society, we need to have, you know, a masculine society to deal with what we're going through. That's not right.
It's not. And I can't imagine the feeling it evokes in you to have watched women start to garner more rights, only for it to almost be taken away to the point that we're losing more than previous generations before us. Something I was thinking about with your career also is, you know, you talked about how there was no one really, it wasn't even a male-dominated field. It wasn't a field. And so you were venturing into this
unknown territory.
Yes, which is exciting and exhilarating. But I'm curious about the aspect of isolation. Like in any form and time during your career where you're experiencing being alone in these pretty intense moments, like, did you feel lonely or were you just alone?
No, I've never felt lonely. And some of the happiest days of my life, I did eventually get a degree in Cambridge. And then I went back to Gombe, you know, the chimp study. And I could spend hours and hours alone in the rainforest, learning, yes, more about the chimpanzees, but also about this complex ecosystem where every plant and animal has a role to play and they're all interdependent. And what I discovered was that if you're out in a beautiful place with someone you love, or, you know, your family or something, then it's human beings in a beautiful environment. But when I was alone, I was part of that world, not separated from it by being a human in that world. It's hard to explain, and it didn't happen that often, but when it did, it was a basically spiritual experience.
Understandably, I'll never probably understand like the level that you're describing of being immersed in that world and being alone. But I think we can all relate on some level of, if you do go watch a sunset by yourself and you're sitting in a canyon or your backyard and you're alone. And when you do things solo, there is like a deeper connection that you have. If you take a walk on the beach and there's no one there, if you're in water and you're alone, like there is, being alone has so much power because you're really forced to also like connect with all of your senses. But it's so rare, I believe, that the recent generations are doing that because they've always got the phone and they have.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Oh, yes. That thing, Jane. That thing. Could you give any advice on how can young adults get more comfortable with being alone?
I mean, are you alone if you're always on Facebook or Instagram or video games? Are you really alone?
No.
Not really.
No, because I think something that I envy, honestly, and I'm sure there are going to be people listening to this, that it's almost like it can make people emotional, is like the way that you talk about this like genuine happiness and this connectivity you felt in your life to being at a place in time where you were so immersed in a world and completely disconnected from humanity and all those things that really bring just more crap to our lives and moments. Yes, it's beautiful to connect with humans, but we rarely are alone. I feel like there's a lot of young kids that feel like they're alone and they're laying in their bed, but then they're scrolling and they're watching other people. And so they're just observing what other human beings are doing and what other people are feeling and talking about. And you're just not actually having to self-reflect in any capacity. You're actually just like consuming an exorbitant amount of content that is then like shaping the next hour of your life. And then you're standing up